Hello, my name is Roman. I am a pre-sale engineer at Ivideon, and in this video I will be showing you the basics of working with Ivideon Cloud VMS. So this is the main screen that you will see after logging on to the Ivideon system. This is the screen that contains all the cameras, grouped and ungrouped. So let's take a look at what we can do with those cameras after we have added them to our system. So first of all, by clicking on the camera itself, you can bring up the live video feed and you can take a look at what happened in the past by clicking anywhere on the timeline. So let's click here, for example. We can take a look at what was recorded right here. So aside from that, there are a couple of extra features I want to show you, like local storage. So here, if I mouse over this part, it will highlight that the pink color signifies the local recordings, and the teal color signifies the recordings that are stored in the cloud. So as we can see, this camera has both. So for example, this part at around 10:30 a.m. Was recorded both locally on the camera's SD card and to the cloud, but this part was only recorded to the cloud. But what you should know is that even if you have a device that only records locally and you don't want to upload your recordings to the cloud, you can still access those recordings later through Ivideon Cloud. And another feature I want to show you before moving forward is the search in an area function, or smart search function. So if we select this camera and click search in archive, this allows us to specify an area where we want to perform the search. So if, let's say, I only want to find events that have happened somewhere here, and let's say we select let's do Monday, and we don't care about the time, we just want to find the recordings. So click on that button and we see two of the recordings that have happened in that area. So one, probably the person's head will be in that area. Yes, as you can see, there is indeed motion in that specific area, and the other is a person actually moving in that part of the screen. So aside from that, let's go through the camera's options. And first of all, you can bring up the options menu by clicking on this hamburger menu right here. But aside from that, all of them are also accessible through here. So if you click on the either camera button or this button here, you will be able to access most of the same functions. But let's go through them. So number one is rename. We can click here and change the camera's name as it appears in the cloud. So let's say we want to change it from ANPR to ANPR1. This is how we do it. And then we can change it back like this. Next, we have this Manage Cloud Recordings button. So let's do it on this camera. If we click Manage Cloud Recordings, we can view all of the different ways that we can record the video to the cloud. So number one is recording activated by detectors and sensors. So this is pretty self-explanatory. This means that the camera will only upload video to the cloud when there is motion or there is sound that's triggering the recording. Continuous recording will mean that the camera is uploading to the cloud constantly. Scheduled recording allows us to mix the two together, so we can, let's say we don't want to record anything before 6, and we click recording disabled, and we want to record everything in this time frame, we do it continuously. And let's say during the weekend we only want to record by detectors and sensors, so we select this part and click recording activated by detectors and sensors. So now that will be the schedule for cloud recordings. So let's cancel that for now and move on to the delayed recording option, which is it's a bit of a special option, a special case. First, I will explain how it's set up and what does it do, and then I will explain why you would need it. So the delayed recording option is broken up into different parts. One is where you specify when the camera should be recording. So let's say we want the camera to be recording during the weekdays. So this setup would mean that during Monday through Friday, all of the recorded footage, everything that the camera sees, will be recorded onto the local device. But here we can actually specify which parts will be, well, when those parts will be uploaded to the cloud. So we can, for example, set it up in such a way that it will only upload anything at all to the cloud during the weekends. So here the camera is recording onto the local storage, be it SD card or a hard drive. Usually it's an SD card in this case, but it will upload during those times, so during the weekend. So why would you need something like that? Well, the number one reason to use it would be when you have an issue with bandwidth. So if you have a bandwidth for say 10 cameras and you want them to record all the time. So let's say this is the schedule we want. We want the cameras to be recording at all times, but we cannot really do that because our bandwidth allows us to upload video from 10 cameras, and we have 30 cameras. So what we do then is we specify, say, for one camera to be uploading during Monday, sorry, I'll have to fix that, Wednesday and Friday. So I'll just click that, and then at all the other times, at all the other times it will not be recording. So this is how we would set it up. We just select all of the areas that we want the camera to be uploading in and don't want the camera to be uploading. So now I have set up this schedule. So that would mean that the camera is recording at all times, but it's only uploading during Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which allows me to reduce the load on bandwidth. So that's enough about that. The last option that's here is recording disabled. So nothing gets uploaded at all. This is something that you may or may not want to use. Next up, we can configure the camera settings. So essentially everything that the camera has in terms of like video quality and image is accessible here. So we can change resolution and bitrate. Again, very easy if you need to change the settings around for easier access to the camera's usage of bandwidth. You can change some of the image settings. Again, the OSD and night vision and image rotation angle can be changed here. Audio settings, microphone, some of the cameras also support microphone sensitivity. Motion detection, again, is set up right here. So all the basic functionality is accessible here. So date and time, and then you can also view the camera's IP address and MAC and all of that. Next, we can grant the camera public access. So if we click here, this will actually ask us to go through a series of steps. But here we have done all of that before. So right now it's a simple toggle on or off. So if we click on, now there is a link to that camera that can be accessible by anyone online, and you can actually embed that camera to be used on your website later. So this is useful for when you want to display a camera's video feed on your website, or if you want the video feed to just be accessible to everybody. Okay, next you can grant access rights to other users. So this is a pretty big thing in our system, the ability to distribute rights to specific sub-users. So let's see how it works. If we click on grant access rights, we can specify the actual rights that the user that we're transferring the camera to should have. So right here we can either select full admin rights, so doing everything to the camera as if the camera was actually associated with the user's account, the users that the camera is now being shared to, or we can reduce it to something like live feed, so only live feed is accessible. And then we enter the person's email address. So if there is an Ivideon account associated with that email address, they will just receive the camera immediately. If there is no Ivideon account that is connected to that email address, then the account will be created for them and they will still be able to view the camera, and they will receive an email telling them that there was an account created for them. So after we have done that, we can obviously edit those rights later by clicking this button here. So here we have all the various users that this camera has been shared to, and we can edit the specific rights to this camera. So what that allows us to do is to build really large dispersed systems where if we have a central office in one city, and we also have cameras in a different city, and we want the people at that different office to only have the cameras for their office, located in their office, I should say, but none of the others. That's how we do it. We share the camera's access with those specific people. So next we can set up notifications. Again, very simple. We can specify the motion, sound, and cameras going online or offline, and then whether or not we want to receive push or email notifications, and then whether we want to do it constantly all the time or by schedule. And then by schedule we can specify the actual schedule here in a similar way I've shown you previously. So that is it for this menu. There's also one other thing I think I haven't mentioned just yet, and that's we can set it up a part of the archive to be downloaded and viewed offline later. So here again I've clicked on this export button here. So if I click on that, that allows me to draw brackets around a part of the archive I wish to get extracted and downloaded to view later. So let's say I'm interested in this part, in this specific part. I can click export, and now after a certain time has passed, I will be able to download that archive to view it offline, and we'll get to that part a bit later. That's under this archive export tab here. But for now, let's see what else can we do with our account, with our cameras. So number one, there is this cogwheel here, which allows us to add groups and connect devices and edit access rights. So groups are these folders right here. So if we want to view the demo cameras group, we can click on that group here. If we only want to view the ungrouped cameras, we click here, and we can also view cameras connected to a specific device like this. So here we only see this one camera connected to this account through this Ivideon bridge. So let me go back to the tab we were on, and if we click on the cogwheel, we can add more groups. So let's enter a name and call it new group. Now that group has been added, and we can place cameras under that group. So let's remove that for now. But while I'm on the subject of groups, we can do similar things to groups as we can to the cameras. So I have just shown you how we can add a group, rename a group. We can add or remove cameras from a specific group, share access to a full group, which is, again, it's similar to sharing access to a specific camera. However, here we can select either the entire group or certain cameras within that group. And then it's very similar to what you have just seen before. We can move that group or remove that group. So very simple here. Next up is dashboard, which allows you to monitor the connectivity of the cameras. So here it appears that we have a couple of cameras with unstable connection. That's how we can monitor that. So if I click here, it will actually bring up the specific cameras that were having issues. So we can see that those two cameras were offline for about 15 minutes in the last 24 hours. So we probably want to take a look at it, and that's how you can know that there are issues somewhere on your network. Next up is the groups tab, and as you can see, this is the exact actually, there is one other thing I should mention in the dashboard, and that's the billing part, where you can view your the data for your payments and the specific data for next payment. So when that will happen, how much will it cost, and your balance, so whether or not that will be enough. And again, you can get more information by mousing over this question sign here. So the groups tab is the exact same tab we see after logging on. This is the tab selected upon login. So I will not spend any more time here. We have a map tab, which allows us to see where the cameras are physically located at. So we can click on the marker to see the camera's feed itself, the same way we have done that in the groups tab. Or we can click on the on this marker that says 4 and see the cameras grouped together. So they are placed on the map automatically, but you can also place them manually for higher precision. Next up is the devices tab. So this devices tab is mainly for external devices that you use to connect your cameras to Ivideon. So this is mostly devices like bridges, where you can go in and obviously share access rights for a specific bridge, but also configure that bridge like this. I have gone into bridge configuration in a different video about how to connect a camera to the Ivideon cloud using a bridge. So if you're interested in that, please take a look at that video. But the last thing we can do on this tab is we can take a look at reports, where we can see 3 different types of reports that we can create. The account cameras, so which cameras were added to this account, removed from this account, and shared with this account. We can take a look at what cameras this account has shared with other users. and we can take a look at which cameras were working at what times of the day. So when did they go on offline, when did they stop working? We can take a look at that data. All of the reports are exported in as Excel spreadsheets. So if you have Excel or any other application like that, you can open those reports using that. So next up, let's take a look at the Events tab here. So here we have all of the events that our cameras have recorded. Here, as you can see, it's mostly motion events, but obviously events such as cameras going offline or online will also show up here. So if we click on this play button here, we can play the actual event. As you can see, there is a motion in frame, which is why this got recorded. So we can view the clip again, or we can view the full recording of when did that happen. So if I click here, this will bring up the video player with the archive feed already in the correct spot. And if I click on this button here, there are multiple things I can do, such as, again, view full recording, so I don't have to wait until the clip plays to do that. I can save a picture or a video of that clip, and I can change the notification settings for this camera that has generated these clips. So for example, if this is not an event I'm interested in, I can remove those events from this tab in the future. So aside from the event itself, we also have filters, so we can filter by which camera has generated this event. So let's say we want to view Ivideon ANPR, which server the camera is connected to, so this is more useful to figure out specific locations. Or for example, if you are testing connectivity issues, you select all the cameras connected to a single server, and if they all go out at the same time, that may be a cause for concern. But for now, let's say we want to view the motion events from this camera. So here we have all kinds of events, as you can see. Cameras going online and offline, area invasion, loitering, sound, global scene change. So that's usually tampering, like for example, someone has spray painted over the camera, tore it off or broke it. That's how those events get recorded. Temperature is obviously for thermal cameras. So if you have a thermal camera that can, for example, measure body temperature and it's generated thermal events, we can receive those events in our cloud and view them later. So sensor is a special event where some cameras have GPIO, general purpose input output. So sometimes those are also called alarm connections. And essentially, if you configure your camera with an alarm in to generate an event whenever that alarm in is triggered, you can get those events to appear in the cloud under this sensor event type. So you can actually connect any sort of a device to that GPIO. You can connect a motion sensor, an external motion sensor, that is a sound sensor, anything that you can think of. Motion event, which is what we want right now. Device added, so we can see the exact time when that device was added to this account. Line crossing, doorbell rang. Again, this is for very specific systems, but if you have a camera, or I should say a gate that supports this functionality, we can receive those events in the cloud as well. and line crossing again. For some reason, I'll have our support team take a look at that. Well, our dev team. So let's say for now that we want to only see the motion events from this camera that have happened yesterday. So we click that, we apply that filter, and we can see all kinds of motion events generated by this camera. Next up, this part has reports. So we can generate a report by a set of events that have been generated by specific cameras, and we can take a look at how different operators have reacted to those reports. So this operator feature is mostly for Ivideon client, which I will be talking about in a different video. And we can also set up whether or not we want to generate these event clips. So that is it for the events tab. The last tab I will be talking about from this set of tabs. Well, second to last, I should say. There is also settings. But this tab is Archive Export. So if you remember, we have set up a clip to be exported to be downloaded later. This is where that clip is located. This is that specific clip. But as you can see, you can also download much larger clips. Like here, for example, there is an 8-hour one that you can download to view offline in MP4 format. So obviously you can filter for a specific date, and you can also look for a specific camera that the clips originate from. So now let's take a look at the settings here. Those are relatively simple. There are account settings, country settings, user interface. You can change the initial screen if you want to. The video player, whether you want to use new version or old version. New version is much faster and more feature rich, but again, if it does not work for you for whatever reason, you can change it to the old version. There's billing info, more video player settings, and email subscriptions, as well as the option to completely delete your account, which will not do just yet. And the very last thing I want to show you is this menu right here that shows up when you click on the account name. So the number one thing you have here is billing. If we click on that, this brings up the billing screen, where you can add funds to your account, add payment methods, but most importantly, you can view your transaction history here. So in the transaction history tab, we can view any of the transactions that have happened between this account and Ivideon and in any time frame. So let's say we want to see what refunds have happened in the last 30 days. We can select it like that, apply that filter, and see that there was indeed one refund in that time frame. So this is how to use this transaction history screen. Next up, we can go to the My Services tab to see all the pricing plans that we have applied right here. Those are the pricing plans in blue. The settings menu, which is the exact same menu as accessible through this tab. Well, as the one accessible through this tab, I should say. Next up is the admin menu, which is where you can see all the users that you have shared your cameras to in one place. So if we click a specific user, we can get the cameras shared to that user. So that's sort of an alternative way to view those shared rights. One I've shown you previously is from the point of view of which cameras are given to whatever users, and this one is which users has what cameras. Next up is Archive Export. Again, same screen that's accessible through this tab here. And the last one is Available Reports. So if I click on that, this will bring up all of the generated reports, all of the reports generated by the system previously. So if you want to download that report to view later, you can do it by clicking here. And the last thing you can do is change language to one from a selection that you see here. So that's it for the basics of using Ivideon. I hope this helped you. Again, this has been Roman, and I will see you in a different video.